Welcome back to the Debrief, the place where we take a breath right after the main episode, loosen the tie a little, and talk about the things that didn't quite fit, or maybe fit too well. If the main episode felt heavy, that's okay, it was meant to, because talking about secret societies isn't really about lodges or symbols or whispered meetings, it's about trust. It's about fear, and it's about that quiet feeling that maybe the rules aren't written down where you can see them. So tonight, we're not going to be rehashing the Illuminati or re-explaining the Freemasons. We already did that work. This is where we talk why those stories stick, what we leave out when we tell them, and how fear becomes a shortcut for our brains to keep reaching for. No debunking with a hammer, no eye-rolling, just pure curiosity. Let's get into it, shall we? One thing that tends to get lost whenever we talk about secret societies is that secrecy is often a response to danger, not a sign of corruption. Historically, some of the most secretive organizations on Earth weren't trying to control anyone. They were just trying not to be erased. Religious minorities met in secret because worshiping openly could get you imprisoned or killed. Early labor organizers didn't advertise meetings because employers would blacklist or straight up attack them. Mutual aid societies among enslaved or marginalized communities relied on secrecy because visibility meant violence. In those cases, secrecy wasn't power, it was protection. And here's the uncomfortable overlap. From the outside, protective secrecy can look identical to manipulative secrecy. Closed meetings, restrictive membership, oaths of loyalty, internal discipline, they all have the same shape, but with very, very different intent. And history gets messy right here. Because fear doesn't usually care why a group is secret. It just notices that they are, and it fills in the rest as our brains always do. And sometimes when the powerful repress people long enough, secrecy becomes the only language left. And that doesn't make every secret group virtuous, but it also doesn't make secrecy alone evidence of guilt. Now here's a question that tends to make people uncomfortable, so let's sit with it for a moment. Why don't we panic about organizations that have all the same traits as secret societies? Fraternities have rituals, insider language, lifelong loyalty, and closed meetings. Unions negotiate strategy privately and wield collective power. Churches preserve sacred knowledge not accessible to outsiders, and political parties decide candidates and policy direction behind closed doors. Now, none of that is secret in the spooky sense, but none of it is explicitly transparent either. And yet, we are mostly fine with it. Why is that? Well, because familiarity breeds legitimacy. We understand what these organizations claim to do. We've seen them our whole lives. Heck, we've watched movies, I'm sure, plenty of times about fraternities trying to upend school administration in an event to make the party of the century. We know how to talk about all of these things. They have press releases, websites, office hours even. The fear doesn't come from secrecy itself, but it comes from alienation. When people feel locked out of opportunity, when outcomes feel pre-decided, when effort doesn't reliably lead to results, that is when secrecy becomes sinister. At that point, it's not about handshakes or symbols, all of those could even be thrown out. It's about the feeling that someone else knows how the game works, and you don't. That is when the imagination takes over. One of the most dangerous things fear does is change the question. Instead of asking, is this true? Fear asks, does this feel dangerous? and it's a much easier question to answer. Fear spreads quickly because it is emotionally efficient. It doesn't require patience, nuance, or verification, it just needs repetition. This is why conspiracy theories don't fade when disproven, they just adapt. Oh, no, I can easily explain why his head did that. It's because the aliens were there instead. Every contradiction becomes proof of how deep the conspiracy goes. Every lack of evidence becomes evidence itself of how well the secret is hidden. It's not a logic problem, it is an emotional ecosystem within itself. And once fear becomes political and once it becomes part of identity, it stops being about explanation and starts being about belonging. You're either awake or you're not. And history shows us again and again that this is how suspicion hardens into movements, even when the original threat was misunderstood, exaggerated, or sometimes even entirely imagined. Now, let's ground all of this back in the calendar, because history loves to remind us that fear, power, and belief don't live in isolation. First up, on January 19th, 1840, the first recorded official use of a photographic image in mass circulation appears. A reminder that new media always arrives wrapped in anxiety. Every leap in communication technology has sparked fear about manipulation, misinformation, and hidden influence. On January 20th, 1936, King George V of the UK dies, and the machinery of monarchy transitions overnight. Moments like this often feel conspiracy thinking because power shifts quietly through protocol and tradition, not dramatic spectacle. In January 21st of 1793, King Louis XVI is executed during the French Revolution. In the aftermath, Europe becomes obsessed with the idea that revolutions don't happen organically, that someone somewhere must be orchestrating them. And this is the soil where secret society panic thrives. January 23rd of 1960, the Bath escape, Trieste, reaches the deepest point of the ocean, a reminder that humans are always drawn to mysteries, and equally drawn to imagining what might be hiding just beyond our reach. And finally, on January 25th, 1924, the first Winter Olympics open in Chaumont, France, an international event built on cooperation and spectacle, yet watched closely by governments wary of symbolism, nationalism, and influence. History doesn't stop repeating itself. It just changes the costume sometimes. A few quick, lighter footnotes to leave you with. Most secret society meetings historically were boring. Minutes were taken, dues were discussed, someone probably forgot a key, and someone complained about the lack of attendance. The real secrecy is often administrative, not cinematic. Most of the most infamous symbols people fear today were originally teaching tools, visual metaphors or memory aids, not magic spells, and definitely not mind control. Which might be the most unsettling truth of it all, is that the scariest thing about secret societies isn't what they did, it's how much that we needed them to be terrifying. And I want to end tonight by asking you something. Honestly, zero judgment. What conspiracy theory did you believe longer than you care to admit? Not because you were gullible, because it explained something that didn't make sense at the time. Go ahead and send those in, either email, DMs, or however you reach us, maybe through the Illuminati brainwaves currently passing through the podcast. And we'll feature some on a future debrief. Because belief doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And if you liked today's episode, the Shadow Council at Naked History would like you to like, or subscribe, or even share this with someone else who uses maybe too much tinfoil Not for cooking, but for protecting their brain. And if you didn't enjoy it, well, just listen to it one more time and listen to the haunting overtones in reverse. It'll tell you everything that you want to hear. Maybe the second time through. But seriously, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate everything that you guys have done for me. Just even listening to the podcast. It helps a lot, and it gives me some time away to talk about ridiculous history stuff like secret societies and brainwaves and toasters. So, on behalf of me, myself, and I, and a mysterious fourth thing here at Naked History, we want to thank you for listening. This has been Naked History, and I have been Dylan Gassaway. Next time on Naked History, we will be leaving Earth, and we're going to be telling a story that was wrapped in so much triumph because the truth was harder to face. We're going to be talking about Laika the space dog next week, and what progress we choose to forget. Stay tuned until then, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.